Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And if you can recognize our guest, well, hopefully you can. It's Laurie. She's been on our podcast before, and we're going to have her back on right now again to talk about what she's been up to since the last time we've had her on. I know that she just competed in a show, but again, Laurie, thank you so much for coming on again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you give us a little bit of an update on what's been like since we last talked to you? What have you been up to? I mean, I know you just got, like I said before, you just got done with a show. How did that go?
Well, it was my first pro show, so I had to get it under my belt, and it was eye-opening, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a whole different level, and it was, I guess it was kind of what I expected it to be, but like I felt like I'm a big person, but then you get in a room with these other women who have been doing this a while, and it's sort of like they're everything, and you're like, oh damn, I guess I'm not as big as I thought I was, or you know, it was just a whole different experience. So I didn't place, but I was pretty sure I wasn't dead last. So I learned a lot of lessons for sure.
No, yeah, I always say it's very fascinating to have some of the guests that I have on who like just started out with the bodybuilding, and then you have some of them that have been competing, for like 20 years, and they barely fit in the screen, and then you're like, okay, yeah, that's just. I mean,
I mean, I feel
that's
big.
amazing. Oh, well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I know. But yeah, then there's some of those people that you're just like, oh my god, like how do they even like eat that much to like to maintain that? But yeah, it's just so fascinating, how that takes. But when you were getting ready for that show, was your training different than it had been, leading up to other preps? Did you try to mix things up, or did you try to do more or less of the same? What was that process like?
I couldn't have mixed it up more. I switched coaches. I changed my diet as a result of that. So, I don't know if you remember, but I have been vegan
Yep.
for about 3 years. And uh, in April, I decided to switch coaches. It was kind of a struggle for me to do that, but I had been with the same coaches all along, and I give them a lot of credit. They helped me build a lot of muscle, and they're bodybuilders, and so I felt like a lot of the things they were having me do, my physique was kind of n- not headed in the direction I wanted it to go in. So I did some research and I found a few different coaches that I talked to, and I landed on the um, the same coach that actually Sydney Gillen uses. So the producers, Pro Physiques, and they're actually in Arizona. So that was a switch, going from a real life, in person team that I trained with literally 5 days a week to an online coach, and to macros. So previously they were writing my whole diet for me. Every single thing I ate every day, they wrote out for me. Now I have macros. I'm like, well, what do I do with this? And I ended up eating egg whites because I just couldn't fit in. He was dead set against eating anything processed, and no artificial sweeteners, like a lot of things that I had been doing, I could no longer do because I trusted him and I wanted to have a body like Sydney Gillen, you know? So I ended up eating egg whites to fit my protein in with this as low fat, and the carbs were different. And then I started to introduce other things into my diet, and my physique changed incredibly in 12 weeks.
Oh, I was gonna say I've seen some of your Instagram photos, and I was like, yeah, it's just been incredible the change that's made. But yeah, egg whites. I mean, I always used to eat eggs all the time, but then it got to a point where I ate them so frequently that like my body just didn't like it anymore. Where I was just like, okay, I need to take a break from that. But when it came to the weight training aspect, did you change things up too, and did you add and introduce
Yep.
different things, or did you do
Mhm.
different styles of weight training?
Yeah, so up to that point, I had an entire day that was dedicated to chest and an entire day that was dedicated to just arms, so biceps and triceps. And my new coach, Damien, took those days out. Chest doesn't really matter as much to figure. Arms don't really matter. Well, they matter, but you're hitting your arms enough in everything else that you're doing that you don't need that anymore, as much. So I had um, back and shoulders twice a week and legs twice a week. And then I was doing previously had been doing 40 to 60 minutes a day of cardio, and he switched it to 20 minutes of hit cardio, which is great because frankly, who has the time to do all that cardio?
Well, getting rid of arm day, that's almost sacrilegious where I am. I mean, just getting rid of an arm day, but that's
I
just
know,
I know.
right?
Yeah, I know. It's just
It took me a while to adjust to it, honestly, and now it's great. It's I still have plenty of arm muscle. I
yeah.
still have, it's not like I'm lacking there. My arms were just getting so huge, and it's my arms looked pretty much on par with all the other girls that were there, and I think that they probably have arm days. At the Chicago show,
Give us
they
a front double bicep. Let's see what you got going for. Look at that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah,
is
she's
that
definitely not
on the
lacking in
screen?
the arm department. Yeah, she's definitely not lacking in the arm department. So yeah, you can take your yeah, you can take it. You can take an arm day off then, basically. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Right.
So and I mean, it's like people don't realize too. I mean, all these other workouts that you do really do affect your arms too. I mean, I've had so many days where
Totally.
just doing some back workouts and just doing the ways that some of the movements that you can do with that. I mean, it really is
Hmm.
fascinating that. But one of the exercise techniques that I think so many people that I have on swear by is time under tension. Do you do a lot of time under tension?
Um, Not as much right now. I think if I had been going through a gaining period with Damien, I would have been doing more of that. But because I really only started with him the last 12 weeks leading up to the show, I was almost kind of maintaining what I had, right? And starting to kind of lose a little bit of weight. But I would say that probably I would be doing more time under tension because I did a lot of that before, and I definitely see the benefits of that. Another thing that I didn't mention to you is I no longer really work out my core. So I was doing a lot of core, a lot of oblique work, and it was just making me wide. And I know that that's kind of a debate. People say that it does, it doesn't, but I was doing like weighted core exercises, which just builds up all the muscle underneath there and just made me like a barrel almost. So no more core.
I mean, I had that very same similar experience. I used to be one of those people where I thought, hey, if I do this X amount of crunches every single day, or if I do this amount of core work every single day, I'm gonna have just this great ass. But then I got to almost looking like one of those CrossFitters where your stomach is like protruding and it kind of looks like you have like a pregnant
Yeah,
six pack. Where like
right.
when I'm trying on clothes or whatever, and then I look at the side, it looks like I'm a little bit overweight just because my stomach is protruding so much. So then yeah, I haven't worked out. I only do it like once a week now too, and I do a lot. I do nothing weighted. I do nothing, but yeah, that's one thing that I found out too, where it was really shocking for me. I was like, I just wanted abs. I don't want to have like a really big gut coming out, basically. Or I don't want to have. So yeah, that's one
That's
thing
very
too.
true. Yeah. I mean, all the other exercises that you're doing, you're holding your core tight anyway. So it's not like you're not engaging it the entire time you're working out. It's just you don't want to build the muscle underneath it.
Yeah, people, if anyone out there who's listening, people a lot of times forget that your core is a muscle too. So it's just like any other muscle where if you work it out a certain amount, it is going to expand and get bigger. And if you do the right techniques, so that's why you don't see a lot of these, especially, figure and bikini girls. Most of them don't train abs. That's one of the things that we've found out. A lot of it is just the cardio and the leaning down process. But what was that like going up on that stage being, it's your first pro show? Was there a lot of excitement, a lot of nerves?
It was the whole climate was different. When the show that I had done prior to that was Masters Nationals, which they just had that just this weekend in Pittsburgh, and everybody was nerves in the back and just chatter, 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 and people worried about what they're going to look like. A lot of pumping up, which is a whole other thing that I found out you don't pump up until right before you go on stage. So it was just much more peaceful and relaxed backstage. I know there were nerves because once we stepped on stage, so there were 27 competitors in this show, and it was an open, right? And it was alphabetical order. So I'm a B. Okay, so I was up. I was maybe the fourth or fifth person on stage. So I had to wait till stand there, pose, and wait till everybody else was done. And I was a nervous wreck. And I'm pretty sure I sped through my routine, but I had the opportunity to kind of watch a lot of the other girls. And although they were pros, they were hella nervous up there. They were shaking like everybody else. So that kind of made me feel like, you know, it kind of set me at ease standing up there because we were all nervous, right? I mean,
Yeah, and honestly, one of my last few guests that I had on probably a couple weeks ago, she brought up the point that I'd never realized, even though I talked, like hundreds of, athletes before, is that her name was also started with a B, so I mean, she got called up there early, and then you have to be posing there, you still have to, the whole
yeah,
entire time. So it's like these poor people, all the stuff that they have to go through, and I mean, you have to put them up there. So it's like, yeah, I want to. I mean, if you have a last name that starts with a Z, then I guess you're set. I mean, you just basically
yeah,
you only have to be up there for a little amount of time. But then another thing that I didn't realize at all too is that one of the Australians that I had on a few weeks ago too, she talked about how her last show, the reason that she didn't get first place, the judges said, is because she wasn't able to maintain that smile. I mean, that's one of those things that I would have never guessed in a million years. But I mean, those jaw muscles must just be absolutely dead sore. But is there anything that you changed up with your posing routine at all? Did you introduce new stuff? Is there any change in that?
yeah. So you do a little bit. You have a minute and a half really to fill. So you have to be careful though, because if you fill the entire minute and a half, I think it gives the judges an opportunity to pick up your flaws, right? So you just you go through and you just try to fire all your muscles constantly through every pose that you do. So I think that the thing that changed the most that changed was when you come out, you have a couple of poses right at the beginning in the back of the stage. And those are just, you're not really getting judged on those per se. Those are more like photo op moments. So that's the time when you want to look the most presentable in a way for the photography. And then when you go up and you go through your model poses, you just have to make sure that you're waiting long enough. So counting to like 3 or 4, holding all your poses, firing your muscles for the pictures. It's just a slower process. And yeah, there's a little bit more of a routine to it, you know.
Well, and I always said too, I mean, most of the times we've had guests on, they talk about, like the amateur shows where you're only out there for, I mean, it's just basically just let's get them going, let's get them through, let's get them through. But now that
Absolutely, yeah.
minute and a half that you guys have, I mean, you really got to be a little bit more creative. And did that minute and a half feel like an eternity when you were out there?
It kind of felt like an eternity. I mean, you know, it's you're just so nervous, right? And but it really had it really it went fast in a way because it seemed like I stood on stage forever waiting for everybody else to go. So like you said, your face is like shaking from smiling, and I had to keep shifting my position. I mean, literally, I had like 20 some other people that went after me. So that's a minute and a half per person. So standing there, I mean, I'm 51 years old. I needed a chair. I wanted to sit down so
That's 30
badly.
minutes basically of just standing there.
Just
It's like,
smiling. And kind of, the judges are looking at you the whole time. They're scanning the girls. They're looking at the woman that's on stage. So you have to be on the entire time. You can't just check out, sadly.
yeah, I know. I was gonna say, like, I would just be that one person where I'd just be like, just like stand like right here, like right where I'm now, just like sitting and just clapping every
Hmm.
once in a while, like whenever someone's done with their routine. Yeah, that would seem like such a better effort. But
Yeah, it takes a long time.
well, especially being out there in those heels too. I mean, especially at like 50 years old too. It's like, oh my
Yes,
god.
and my knees I have bad knees, so just standing there, and you're trying to look muscular too, so trying to kind of fire your muscles at the same time. It was exhausting, honestly. And people think it's easy.
I always say the body is not designed to be flexed at that for that long of a time and that constantly.
No.
But you said that, like, you mentioned that you had knee problems. So did that affect your training at all when it came to getting ready for the show?
I mean, it does. It definitely does. My quads are not as thick as a lot of the girls up there, and that not only it has a little bit to do with my height,
Yep.
obviously, but it's just I can't push the weight that I used to. I mean, I when I squat, I use the Smith machine. Because I'm just scared that my knees will give out. I mean, I'm the girl in the gym that wraps her knees tight and then rewraps and rewraps, and it definitely affects it. I mean, fortunately, I don't have to do as much cardio. that 40 to 60 minutes a day was really, really tough. So, I mean, that's been definitely a benefit.
Would you say you were the tallest person at the show?
I was the tallest and the oldest. So
Oh, jeez.
I will be doing only master shows going forward.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, like we talked about the last time. I mean, I'm 6'3", so I totally understand the tall people problems
Yeah.
that definitely, I mean, have to be going through. But it's just, I mean, I just find that just so fascinating on how, the vast majority of people that I have on are on the very shorter side that like to compete in bodybuilding. So, if I ever made a book about all this experience that I had, that would probably be one of the chapters, be like the short people that bodybuild. But I just find it so fascinating when we get the taller guests on. But
Ryan, there's a picture on my Instagram feed that is a picture of me and two other competitors. And like, honestly, I think that their heads came to my chest.
you could literally like pet them, yeah, basically, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was ridiculous how much taller I was than most of the girls.
Yeah, and that's, and to be able to still be as muscular as you are, I mean, that just comes to a testament of, the hard work and the training that goes, well, and the genetics. Yeah, well, I'm giving you I'll add the genetic part on the background because, yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of genetic freaks on this show that I'm just
Hmm.
like, oh my God, that is just ridiculous. But what was your post-show meal like?
Well, I had a photo shoot the next day, so I
Oh,
wanted to be careful what I ate. So I didn't want to eat like a lot of sweets or anything. Um, once again, I'm no longer vegan, so I did go out and have a steak and a baked potato. Um, so I hope nobody's hating me out there for not being vegan anymore. I mean, I enjoy being vegan, and once again, I probably will be once again down the line. But I had a wonderful steak dinner, and I had one vodka martini, and um, it had some. I went completely off the rails the next week. So after the photo shoot, then I had plenty of sweets.
even saying vodka, I mean, I had my birthday last Monday, so literally I'm just having flashbacks to my birthday weekend where I had a little bit too much vodka myself. But I gotta ask, what was it like having meat again after not having it for such a long period of time?
We introduce meat kind of slowly and carefully, right? Because not eating it for so long, I don't really have the digestion was potentially going to be an issue, right? So we started with a little bit of chicken, and just for a few days, and I ended up getting kind of bloated from it. So we cut back on the chicken, and I literally had tilapia 4 times a day. So I had a pound of tilapia every day for 6 weeks. I think probably 6 or 8 weeks, only tilapia.
Oh,
So I just really don't want to look at fish again
oh
for
yeah.
quite some time. So yeah, I didn't really have the enzymes to break it down. So um, Damien did have me eat a hamburger once a week, a cheat meal. So the first time I had a hamburger, I sat in the parking lot of Culver's, and I sat in the parking lot of Culver's, and I felt like I was eating it like in shame, kind of. I just sat in my car and I was like nibbling on it. It felt kind of weird, but it was really good. I'm not gonna lie.
Go to a Five Guys if you want to get a real hamburger. I said go to a
A
Five
Five Guys,
Guys.
yeah, we have those here too.
Yeah. Oh, I always said
Okay.
if I ever competed, that'll be the first thing I do is I take $1,000 on my bank account, go to a Five Guys, and say, you know what, I'm either gonna eat here until I throw up, pass out, or die. But either way, I'm getting my money's worth. But yeah,
Okay, Five
Five
Guys, I'll
Guys,
definitely do
Five
that.
Guys. That it is a lot. I'm not gonna get you long, but we also have this place called Smash Burger where they have so much meat on it that the patty literally touches your plate when they give it to you, like it hangs
Oh,
over the bun. But it's yeah,
wow. I think
that's
we have
really
Smash
good too.
Burger,
Yeah,
but you recommend Five Guys.
both of them. Yeah, either way,
Okay.
either way. I mean, if you want to do like a double thing, or no, I'm just kidding. But like, if you wanted to like for one week, you could do like a Five Guys. Another week, you could do a Smash Burger. I mean, I highly recommend both of those. But how has your post show been going? I mean, because like I saw in one of your last posts, it's been 2 weeks, and how's it been going? How's the transition been going?
It's been going good. I mean, I'm still trying to convince my husband to on a couple more shows this season. I mean, I haven't really my body hasn't changed too much. I've only gained a few pounds. I mean, actually, I gained 8 pounds the week after the show. I was completely depleted, obviously, and the cravings were so real. And I just ate whatever I wanted. But then I switched back to eating clean again, and I got that all under control. And everything's been good. I mean, I'm feeling good. I have a lot of energy and, not a lot of stress really right now. So I feel good. And hopefully, I'll be doing a show in Clearwater in September. So that's a Masters 40 and over. And then Kentucky Muscle is in October, and they just added a 40 and over category this year, from what I've heard. So that's the plan.
Well, that sounds great. So then how long do you think before you get into another sort of like mini prep then to get ready for the show that's in August?
At my check-ins last week, Damien already started to tell me, because he can see my food. His website links up to my Fitness Pal, and I'm putting all my food in there. And he's already told me like, hey, you need to, start cutting out this, and this. So I'm trying to behave myself. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard, but I chose it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and you mentioned one of the things that I found was fascinating is that you mentioned that you're going to be away this coming week on business. How do you
Yep.
still maintain that lifestyle when you're away on business? You just find basically the nearest local gym and just hang out
Yep.
there.
I've already researched it. Yeah. So yeah, I do that right away. I mean, when I put in a recommendation to my travel people where about a hotel, I look right away like where is a gym nearby. So I'll just be gone a couple of days, and I've already found a 24-hour fitness close to where I'm staying. Well, first I check and see if the hotel has anything that's of value, which rarely ever does.
They basically just have like the dumbbells and just like one little like cardio machine, and yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't stay anywhere fancy for my job. So,
Yeah. No, and then you just get all your meals packed and ready to go, and then you just have them all set up.
um, I could do that, but I'm not really in a point in my prep where I
Oh
would
yeah.
need to do that. So I'll just make good choices. Like it's easy enough to go out and get just a baked chicken and broccoli or whatever. That's not hard to do. Um, I could even do a meal replacement bar at this point, but I would rather not because it usually has a lot of fat in it. But yeah, it shouldn't be a problem right now. It's just getting, closer to the show will be a little bit more of a challenge. Then I would definitely take my food, which is what I did when I went to Chicago a couple of weeks ago. I took all my food. I just made all my meals, put it in the freezer, and I just took it in my carry-on bag because I didn't stay at the host hotel. The host hotel had all the athlete food there. So I just happen to have points enough to stay for free somewhere else.
Well, like I asked, what's the weather like down where you're at right now?
It's probably so I'm in just outside of Atlanta, and it's maybe 90 something degrees, probably 100% humidity. It's blazing hot out.
Well, I was to say because I know that you used to be from Wisconsin, so I mean we've been getting hit, absolutely just dead on with all these storms through the last couple of days. I mean, we got I think 5 inches of rain yesterday, and
Oh no.
yeah, I mean it's just been dead. I mean that's what another reason why I mean I had to reschedule a podcast yesterday for another reason, but also I mean with all that rain going, I mean you couldn't hear anything in the background when I was trying to talk to another person. Where I was just like, okay, we're gonna need to reschedule this because literally you could just hear
The rain.
the rain just killing my roof, and yeah, and then we got hail. But yeah, I mean
But you're in Minnesota, right?
Oh yeah, I'm about an hour away from the Wisconsin border. I'm in Bloomington, so it's literally like a 45-minute drive to get to Hudson. So
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, so I knew that you're from Wisconsin, so I was like, oh yeah, she's got to know about how shitty it's been for the weather up in the upper Midwest these last few days, so that she can count her blessings. But again, being in 90 degrees where it's 100% humidity, I mean, that's enough. That's torture enough as it is.
It's pretty hot. Yeah. I mean, it's just you're wringing wet as soon as you go outside.
Well, especially if you have our skin tone, our majority upper Midwest skin tone, where you can't go out in the sun without an SPF of 100 million, basically. So,
Yeah, that's right.
and I still get burned. I mean, I was at a Twins game a couple of weeks ago, and I told my friends, I said, we got to get shade seats first of all. I'm not sitting in any other place in the stadium other than
Right.
shade. I was only out there for about half an hour in the sun, and I'm still, there's still a little bit of skin that's still peeling off from and it's just,
Oh no.
oh my god, I
Well, I'm
just,
going to Chicago next week, and I
yep,
already checked the weather, and it's only supposed to be about 80.
yeah.
So.
So when it came out, because then that also leads me to, I mean, and I know we talked about the last time about the whole tanning process, but was that any different for the pro shows? Did they have, because some of the pros that I have on, they talk about how, you have your own different types of tan that then they get offered because it's a pro show. Was that different for you?
Well, I think the tan is probably the same, but they do charge you more for it. They have a special IFBB tan that's I think it was like 25 or
Do they just put like an IFBB sticker on it just so that it says like it's IFBB tan so then they can charge you more?
you know what I think that we did get? We got like these little sticky feet. I've never had those before, so it's like a little sticker that they put on the bottom of your feet and after they did your spray tan, they took those off and they put like this special stuff on your fingernails. I never had that before. So that could be the extra 25 or $30 right there. But yeah, it was it was a good tan. Let me tell you, it was real dark. It looked good under the lights. So it's a lot of tan.
As someone who's never been tan a day in his life other than farmer's tan, I mean, I would say just enjoy it while you have it, and just,
It was good.
yeah, no, yeah,
Hmm.
that's one thing where, I mean, I was just like, one of these days I might just put the tan on and not compete, but just like put the tan on just so I could like just walk around, but yeah,
Yeah, just so you can see your muscles better.
just see your mouth. Yeah, that too. I mean, especially, yeah. I mean, when you're just white and you're going out and you're trying to maybe show off to some ladies at the beach or whatever, it's not going to end well because you're just so pale that, I mean, I always say it's like Twilight where it reflects off of me, but it's like it's not the sexy version of Twilight. It's just more of like it's more of like blinding where they're just like, oh, I can't see. It's kind of like when they open the Ark at the end of Indiana Jones and everyone's face melts.
No, no, not at
It's
all.
kind of like that. Oh no, not because I don't look good. It's because of just the brightness of it where they're just like,
Yeah, you need sunglasses. My husband's like that too, Irish. But you know what I did before the show is they recommended Liquid Sun Rays did the tanning, and they recommended when you're already very pale, it's good to get a base tan first. So I did the tanning bed thing for a couple of weeks, and I got a little bit of a tan, so they didn't have to like roll it on and yeah, so that I think that was helpful to get a little bit of a base tan. So
well, yeah, and that's just, and again, any advice that any people could have, I mean, yeah, just get that base 10 to before. But now we head on to the questionnaire part of the podcast where, I mean, I know we had the questionnaire for the other podcast, so I've included some all new questions so that we can get
okay.
some new answers out of her. So now for the first one, what is your favorite body part to train and what is your least favorite body part to train?
Right now, my favorite body part to train is glutes because I have really made like huge changes to my glutes in the last 3 years, and I just want to see like I really want that really good tie-in, and I just that body part is just blowing my mind right now. I think the least favorite would be it's going to have to be legs. It's just because it's just so hard on my knees. My basically it's hamstrings, I should say. I mean, even though quads is my favorite, and you think quads and hamstrings are kind of the
I was gonna
similar,
say, yeah.
but the workouts are different. They really are. I just when I do hamstrings, it affects my knees. Just the way you have to bend, and when you're doing the lay down hamstring thing, it hurts my knees.
Well, and being that tall too, I mean, it's you have so much more length to sort of build the muscle in. I mean, it's just,
Hmm. It's
the
hard.
pain, the pains. Yeah, I know. I always say one of these days, I always just wish, other than the fact that being tall has a lot of advantages to, I just say just for one day in the gym to train as like someone who's like 5'6" or 5'5",
Yeah.
to just be able to know that like every movement that I do, like you're going to be able to feel it as opposed to like, especially I know a guy in the gym who's 6'7", and every time he does like a bicep curl, like it only takes up about like half of the length of like where his bicep should be just because his arm is just so long where it's just a huge difference. But now for the next question, out of all the bodybuilders on the planet, if you could meet any bodybuilder, who would it be?
Um, any bodybuilder. Um, I guess I would like to meet Arnold.
Yep.
You know, he's so iconic, and he's the beginning of so much of it. I think it'd be really cool to meet him.
Did you see that new movie that just got released? I forgot what it's called, but it was sort of like it was on the guy who first started that bodybuilding magazine like back in the 50s and 60s. and then it had like some guy play a younger version of Arnold, and it had like Julianne Hough played the guy's wife. I forgot what it was called. If I can figure out what it was
No, I'll
called,
have to Google
it's
that.
on Netflix. So it's I thought
Oh,
I thought
okay.
it was really really cool, but first of all, the guy did a horrible Arnold accent. They had like some like new bodybuilder guy come and he tried to do an Austrian accent, and that would be one of the reasons why I'd love to meet Arnold, just to have him yell at me in his Austrian accent, like if we were
Yeah,
working
right.
out. But yeah, I will definitely look it up when we're done recording because I can't think of it right now, and then I'll send you a message about it because yeah,
Yeah, do it.
it was really really good, and it was just seeing how basically it was just a sport before then, but then how once you introduce the photography and everything like that, it just got a lot more mainstream. I thought it was really really
Hmm.
fascinating to do that, and also to see how much the women is bodybuilding. I mean, it wasn't even women's bodybuilding back then, but just how that physique changed, because like they were talking about, there was a girl that was in the gym and she's like, oh, I don't want to get like too huge, and she was literally like a string bean, like literally you could put like this around her arm basically, and it's just yeah, how that has
Oh, I
changed
mean,
since then.
it's changed since then, and you're saying it's changed since then. Honestly, it's changed since last year
Yeah.
because just really quickly, my feedback from Masters Nationals last year was don't get any bigger. Okay. This year, my feedback was you need to grow. You need to put some size on. I'm not kidding. It's 8 months later, and I'm not big enough.
Well, and I've heard that is the number one complaint that I hear for another question that I asked, but I think I've already asked you, if you could change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding, what would it be? And it's to make just, a general consensus of what you want these competitors to look like, because we've heard similar stories of that too. Where, I mean, if someone's competing in a show and then 2 months later they compete in another show, yeah, the same things happen where they're just like, oh, we want a more leaner look now. And then they come in and they're like, oh,
Consistency would be
yeah,
nice.
yeah, consistency. Yeah, it's like, oh no, you need to get bigger, and it's like, well, good luck in a couple of months. Just all of a sudden putting on, all this muscle that you're looking for them to put on. So yeah, that's one thing that I look at, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's something that definitely needs to be addressed, at least in my opinion. But how long until you think that you're gonna go back to going vegan? Is it just when you're done competing, or is there a certain timeline for that?
I did. I felt really good eating that way. So this may or may not be my one of my last years competing. I think if it were up to my husband, it would be my last year competing. He's like, why does every vacation have to be to go to a city I don't really want to go to just so you can compete? So I think that yeah, maybe once I'm past this point in my life where I'm trying to pursue this kind of these goals and these dreams of mine, I'll go back to eating that way.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, your poor husband every time, oh, we gotta go to blah 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 just so that we can see
I
her, go
know.
up on stage. No, I'm just, but that's, again, that's just all the hard work and dedication that goes into this sport, and just another thing that I love having the bodybuilders on, because, like I always talk about, the general public just thinks it's just about, lifting a few weights and then you're good to go. They don't realize all of the so many more things that go
A lot of
into the process.
sacrifices,
Oh,
not just for yourself, but for your family too. So
100%. I mean, even me, like I always say, asterisk mark, I never competed, but just all those times when friends would text me, "Hey, you want to go out for drinks? You want to go out?" And it's like, "No, I got to go work out right now." And then they're just like, "Why? You don't do anything with it?" And I was like, "Well, I like it. It makes me look good." But yeah, just in everyone, for competitors, you got to times that by a million basically for that when it comes to. So yeah, it's just so much sacrifice that I mean, I love to bring that up. But now going back to the questionnaire, if we were to talk to you a year from today, where would you like to be at when it comes to your bodybuilding career? Where would you like to be at when it comes to just your overall life? What are some goals that you would like to have achieved that if we were to talk a year from today, you would like to have accomplished?
I think a year from today, like I said, I may or may not be doing this. If it were up to me, I would still be doing it. I mean, if my health permits, then I would still like to be doing this. I would like to start competing earlier in the year next year. So keeping my workouts consistent at least through the holidays. And I kind of you know took a break over the holidays, if you will, last year. I mean, I was in the gym, but I wasn't hitting it hard. And I would really like to start competing earlier in the year because I noticed that the judges really they know who's going to be at the show, and they are looking for those girls to show up, if you will, like to bring their best package. So me coming into the show, and it's already been several months of competing, to be honest with you, they didn't care who I was because they're looking at all the other girls that are trying to get points for the Olympia, right? So, not that I'm ever going to be going to Olympia, but I would really like to start earlier with my shows next year if I do it.
Well, the number one question that I got asked then is how are you going to be able to do it during holidays? Because for me personally, I mean, like you said, I know the last time you were on, you talked about, how being from the upper Midwest, food is just such a huge part of the holidays. And, you can, I bet you probably have flashbacks. So you can probably think about poor old me during the holidays, being forced to stuff my gullet basically just in order to be accepted into my family and not get thrown out onto the street basically. So I mean I know just being in those holiday seasons though, I mean, does that just take a lot of willpower? Are there any ways that you try to tell yourself that like, hey, it is for an end all goal when you're around that, Christmas Eve table and everyone is just stuffing their gullet?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't I think once I get in that mindset, I don't even have those cravings. I mean, if I do, I'll have like maybe a little bit more peanut butter or something like that, but I don't look at a bean casserole and go, I got to have that. Like, like a lot of people might do that, but it's just a mindset.
You clearly have never tried my uncle's pumpkin pie then. That's
Well, carrot
Sorry.
cake is my favorite.
Oh, carrot cake, yeah, carrot cake. No, yeah, I'm one of those weird people where pumpkin pie is the only type of pie that I like. So it's just I don't even get me started. I mean, I could do a whole podcast on my weird, food, what I like and what I don't like. But yeah, carrot cake, I do enjoy a nice carrot cake every once in a while. But yeah, those holidays, yeah, I mean, put on about 10 pounds myself, and then you got to go to the gym and do your own little cardio just to get rid of that. But a question that I asked you the last time that I think is just so important that I'll ask it again is that there's so many myths and stereotypes when it comes to working out. And I mean, I ask this for every guest, which is why, I've had a couple of repeat guests on already too. And, I asked them the same thing is that, there still is that big myth and misconception that women have that, if they go to the gym, they pick up, one weight, they're just going to, put on 50 pounds of muscle overnight. And what do you like to tell people to get them to believe that myth is not true? Because I mean, I always say, you'd be the biggest commodity of all time. You'd be the first ever trillionaire. I mean, everybody and their brother would want to buy whatever you're selling. But what do you like to tell people so that they don't have that fear going into the gym?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's a combination of the right technique, the right techniques in the gym, and consistency in the gym, coupled with a diet, right? So you're not going to go into the gym and pick up, you know, weights that are too heavy for you, or 35 pounds, and start to curl them and immediately get these big muscles. I mean,
And if you do give me and if you do give me a call.
yeah, I know. What you're more likely to get is an injury because you know you're going to tear something, or you're going to hurt your joints, or whatever. It's just it's a process to get there, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have to have patience and consistency for sure.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that. And before I get to the last question of the questioner, I have to tell you just a quick little story that I think that you would find interesting is that I had a power lifter on, and I've had probably about a dozen of them on the podcast, but she was 4'11". Probably I don't know how much she weighed, but she was a really built person. I've never been more embarrassed on this podcast than I was with her, because out of her best lifts, her bench, her squat, and her squat and her deadlift were more than me. And I'm a good 16 inches taller than her. My bench was the only thing where I did about like 25 pounds more than her. But it was just, I mean, that was just one of those things where it was just so fascinating just to, and a lot of people, they don't realize that, just because someone's taller, just because someone's bigger doesn't mean that they can lift more when it comes to the gym. So when you're talking about, going in and curling a 35 pounder, I mean, it's like, that doesn't mean, just because the way someone looks doesn't mean that they can obviously go and do that. So I always like to bring up that story, because I was honestly like, okay, we're done here. I'm done talking to you. Like, I don't want to talk to you ever again.
Yeah,
Like,
well, their center of gravity is lower,
yep.
right? So they have to pull the weight, way a shorter distance than you do. It's way tougher as you get older.
I told myself that as I cried myself to sleep that night. That's what I was telling myself. My center of gravity is a little bit more, so she's got to push it down a little bit more. But
I mean, I have learned, to keep myself covered up, when I go out, because people are always, say stupid stuff like, how much can you bench? So I try to wear sleeves so I don't, invite these questions. But on the rare occasion that I walk out in public looking like this and someone says, "How much can you bench?" or "What do you squat?" I just say, "All of it."
just say more than you.
Yeah, I mean, it'd definitely probably be more than you, but I
Yeah.
just say, "All of it."
Yeah,
I
all of
mean
it. Yeah. Is that even yeah, and then just look at him like that's the stupidest question you could ask. I mean, obviously all of it. Yeah, no, yeah. And I always love to tell that story, but yeah, I mean, I just found that so fascinating. But for our last question of the questionnaire, what has been your favorite memory from bodybuilding? If you were to stop bodybuilding right now, what would be the one thing that you were most proud of?
I formed a lot of really great friendships that I know will last way beyond my bodybuilding career. And a lot of those women I've met honestly over social media, and then we've connected at events, whether or not we were competing against each other or we went to see each other compete. So those are things that you can really hold on to and be thankful for. I mean, I'm so blessed by these wonderful women that I've met, these women that have this common interest. And we are competitive, but we're also um, we really legitimately care about each other because we know what it takes to go through all of this. And we've shared a lot of experiences, and I'm just really thankful for that.
And that's awesome. And that's one thing too that I found out that's so positive, especially with the bodybuilding community on social media, is that they are so supportive of everyone. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start with the bodybuilding community when I did this podcast, because I just found it, for most sports, you might not find that, but for bodybuilding alone, I mean, it's just, and like you said, I agree 100% with, it's that shared history where, I mean, when people suffer together, they tend to bond a little bit closer. So that
Right.
that joint suffering, really tends to draw people close together. But now, before we wrap things up, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd love to give a shout out to my family,
Mhm.
my husband and my daughter, for being so supportive and sticking by my side. And yeah, they're really my number one supporters. And I have two really wonderful girlfriends that I have met in the last couple of years. So that's Casey, who is a bikini pro, and my friend Debbie, who is another figure pro. And I mean, I talk to them both every single day, and we live in different states, and we're just so supportive of each other. So
And again, that is just so awesome. And again, Laurie, we cannot thank you enough for coming back on the show and giving us a little bit of an update. I mean, I really, really appreciate you having you back on. And honestly, I think with the Masters show in August, you're going to do great. I mean, obviously, we've seen. I mean, it's going to be amazing. So again, keep us posted on that. And I mean, I'd love to have you back on, in another span of time, and we can talk about, how you won those shows and how you're going to the Olympia maybe next year or something. If your husband lets you, I mean, I'll give a personal message to your husband, just let her compete. Just let her do it. Come on. Just let her do it. Come on.
it'll be over in a couple of years,
Yeah,
honey.
it'll
It's
be
okay.
over in a couple of years, then you can enjoy, all the benefits of, the retirement basically together. And, it's, yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't think that she's going to be one of those like 75-year-old bodybuilders. I mean, we had one of them on the show and I was just like, okay, just enjoy
No,
your remaining years. Come on, just do that. But yeah,
absolutely
no,
no.
yeah.
That's not going to be me.
Yeah, 100%. But again, Laurie, we cannot thank you enough for being on the podcast. And everyone, go and give her a follow. I'll leave a link to her Instagram page down below. And I mean, it'll inspire you to get off the couch and stop eating all those Twinkies and, get in shape. And again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.